Principle number 1. The attraction is not to the person, but to the unfinished part of the psyche. Most people believe that loving someone who cannot love them back is a mistake of judgment, a failure to choose better, or simply bad luck. Carl Jung challenged this assumption entirely. He argued that such attachments are rarely accidents, they are psychological encounters. When love moves toward what cannot return it, something unconscious is being activated. The pull does not originate in the other person, it originates within. Jung observed that the psyche seeks wholeness, not comfort. When an individual encounters someone emotionally unavailable, distant, or incapable of reciprocity, the psyche often experiences an unusual intensity. This intensity does not arise because the person is special in an objective sense. It arises because they carry a projection. They become a screen upon which the unconscious places unresolved inner material, often linked to early emotional deprivation, unmet needs, or disowned aspects of the self. In Jungian terms, this is the mechanism of projection. What is unlived or unintegrated within the self is unconsciously attributed to another. The unavailable person appears mysteriously compelling, deeply significant, or uniquely meaningful, not because of who they are, but because they hold something the psyche believes it has lost. This is why logic fails to break the attachment. The ego believes it is choosing a person. The unconscious knows it is seeking completion. In real life, this dynamic often expresses itself as emotional persistence without nourishment. Attention feels scarce yet intoxicating. Distance increases desire rather than diminishing it. Small gestures carry disproportionate weight. The absence of reciprocity does not end the attachment, it intensifies it. The psyche interprets emotional unavailability as depth, complexity, or destiny, when in reality it is responding to an inner wound that has not yet been made conscious. What makes this pattern especially powerful is that it feels personal, it feels fated, it feels meaningful. Jung warned that this is precisely how the unconscious disguises itself. The psyche does not announce its intentions, it creates emotional gravity. And when this gravity is not understood, it is mistaken for love. This principle explains why certain people trigger disproportionately deep emotional reactions. They are not triggering the present moment alone, they are activating a psychological history. The intensity belongs to the psyche, not the relationship. When this is not recognized, the individual remains trapped in repetition, unconsciously seeking resolution through others rather than through awareness. The psyche continues to reach outward, hoping someone else will complete what has not yet been faced inward. Principle number 2. Emotional unavailability mirrors an internal split between desire and self-worth. Jung understood that what repeatedly appears in one's relational life often reflects an unresolved inner division. Loving someone who cannot love you back is frequently not about attraction alone, but about a deeper fracture between the part of the psyche that longs for connection and the part that doubts its right to receive it. The unavailable other unconsciously confirms an inner belief that love must be earned, pursued, or proven. From a Jungian perspective, this dynamic is rooted in the ego's relationship with the unconscious. When early experiences taught the psyche that closeness was conditional, inconsistent, or withdrawn, the individual internalizes a pattern where longing feels familiar and fulfillment feels foreign. The psyche does not seek what is healthy, it seeks what is known. Emotional distance becomes recognizable terrain, presence feels uncertain, absence feels like home. Jung emphasized that the unconscious does not communicate through reason, it communicates through patterns. When the psyche carries an unexamined belief that love is scarce, or that one must adapt, diminish, or strive to be chosen, it will gravitate toward those who cannot fully meet it. Not because suffering is desired, but because the pattern preserves identity. To receive love freely would require a restructuring of the self-image, and that can feel threatening to the ego. In everyday experience, this often appears as overinvestment without grounding. One person gives emotional energy, patience, understanding, and time while receiving ambiguity in return. Boundaries soften, standards quietly lower. The hope for reciprocity remains alive, not because evidence supports it, but because the psyche is reenacting a familiar inner story. The unavailable person becomes proof of an old belief that love must be chased rather than met. What makes this especially difficult to see is that the individual may appear confident, capable, or self-sufficient in other areas of life. Jung noted that psychic splits are often selective. One can feel powerful in achievement and deeply uncertain in intimacy. The unconscious protects this division by directing desire toward those who will never fully challenge it. This is why certain people trigger disproportionately deep emotional reactions. They resonate with an internal contradiction that has not yet been reconciled. The longing is not just for them, it is for a sense of worth that has been postponed. Awareness begins when the pattern is no longer romanticized, when longing is seen not as proof of depth, but as a signal pointing inward. The psyche does not repeat without reason. It repeats until something is understood. Principle number 3. The anima, or animus, is projected onto what cannot be possessed. Carl Jung observed that one of the most powerful forces in romantic attachment is not the other person, but the inner image carried within the psyche. He called this the anima in men and the animus in women. Unconscious inner figures shaped by early experiences, cultural symbols, and emotional memory. When these figures are not consciously integrated, they are projected outward, often onto those who are least available. The unavailable person becomes compelling because they are distant enough to carry fantasy. Their silence invites interpretation. Their inconsistency allows imagination to fill the gaps. Jung noted that projection thrives in absence. The less one truly knows another, the more space the psyche has to place its inner image upon them. This is why emotional distance can feel magnetic rather than discouraging. From a Jungian lens, loving someone who cannot love you back often indicates that the anima or animus has not yet been recognized as an inner reality. The psyche mistakes an internal figure for an external source of completion. The unavailable other is not experienced as they are, but as what they symbolize. They become a living container for unconscious longing, creativity, meaning, and depth that the individual has not yet claimed within themselves. In lived experience, this manifests as idealization. Flaws are minimized, potential is exaggerated. The connection feels profound, even when interaction is limited. Emotional highs are intense, and emotional lows feel devastating. The relationship exists more vividly in the inner world than in shared reality. Jung warned that this imbalance is not love as relation, but love as projection. This dynamic also explains why confrontation or clarity can feel threatening. If the unavailable person were to become fully present or definitively absent, the projection would collapse. The psyche would be forced to reclaim what it has placed outside itself. This reclamation is not painless. It requires the ego to accept responsibility for its own inner life. Certain people trigger deep emotional reactions because they align perfectly with the unconscious image. They feel archetypal, not personal. They awaken something ancient and unnamed. Yet what is awakened is not found in them. It is found in the psyche that recognizes itself through them. When projection is withdrawn, the emotional intensity does not disappear. It transforms. The energy once invested outward becomes available for inner development. This is the beginning of individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole. Principle number 4. The ego confuses intensity with intimacy. Jung cautioned that the psyche often mistakes emotional intensity for depth of connection. When someone cannot love you back, the relationship is sustained not by mutual presence, but by emotional tension. This tension creates heightened awareness, longing, and preoccupation. The ego interprets this heightened state as intimacy, when in fact it's a form of psychological activation. From a Jungian perspective, intensity arises when unconscious material is stirred. The ego becomes alert, vigilant, and emotionally charged. The unavailable person triggers uncertainty, and uncertainty amplifies focus. The psyche enters a state of anticipation rather than connection. Jung noted that true intimacy is stabilizing, not destabilizing. It brings clarity rather than obsession. When intensity dominates, something unresolved is at work beneath the surface. This confusion is reinforced by cultural narratives that equate love with struggle, sacrifice, and emotional volatility. The psyche absorbs these narratives and uses them to justify internal unrest. Loving someone who cannot reciprocate becomes framed as depth, loyalty, or emotional courage. In reality, the ego is responding to unpredictability, not closeness. In everyday life, this appears as constant mental engagement. Thoughts loop, emotions spike and crash. Small changes in the other person's behavior carry outsized emotional consequences. The relationship consumes inner space without providing emotional nourishment. Yet the absence of stability is interpreted as chemistry rather than imbalance. Jung believed that the ego resists calm because calm requires presence. Presence dissolves fantasy. When intensity fades, the psyche must face itself without the stimulation of longing. For individuals whose inner world feels empty, conflicted, or unintegrated, intensity becomes a substitute for meaning. The unavailable other supplies emotional movement, even if it is painful. This explains why some attachments feel alive despite being unfulfilling. The psyche is not nourished, but it is activated. An activation can feel like purpose when direction is lacking. Certain people trigger deep emotional reactions because they destabilize the ego in a familiar way. They recreate an inner climate where love and anxiety coexist. This climate feels known, even if it hurts. Recognition of this principle shifts perception. What once felt like passion begins to reveal itself as agitation. The psyche does not seek to suffer, but it will tolerate suffering to avoid stillness. Awareness interrupts this cycle by distinguishing between emotional stimulation and genuine connection. Principle number 5. Rejection protects an identity that has not yet been outgrown. Jung understood that the psyche resists transformation as much as it seeks it. Loving someone who cannot love you back often serves an unconscious function. It preserves a familiar self-concept. As long as love remains unreachable, the ego does not have to confront who it would become if love were fully received. Rejection, in this sense, becomes a psychological shield. From a Jungian viewpoint, identity is not only built from strengths, but from wounds. When a person has organized their sense of self around being the one who waits, hopes, adapts, or endures, mutual love would require a fundamental restructuring of that identity. The ego fears this loss of familiarity. It prefers the known pain over the unknown wholeness. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is conservative. It protects established patterns even when they cause suffering. When the psyche has learned to define itself through longing or emotional struggle, it will unconsciously select relationships that reinforce this definition. The unavailable person confirms an inner narrative. Love is distant, conditional, or always just out of reach. In real-world terms, this appears as self-abandonment, disguised as devotion. Needs are minimized, discomfort is rationalized, hope replaces clarity. The individual remains emotionally engaged while postponing their own growth. The relationship becomes a holding pattern, keeping the ego intact by preventing change. What makes this principle difficult to accept is that it challenges the belief that rejection is imposed from outside. Jung suggested that the psyche often collaborates in its own frustration, not consciously, but symbolically. The outer rejection mirrors an inner refusal to step into a fuller expression of self. Certain people trigger deep emotional reactions because they stabilize this identity. They keep the individual psychologically positioned as the one who desires rather than the one who receives. This position feels meaningful because it is familiar. This final insight is the most misunderstood and the most important. Principle number 6. Transformation begins when longing is redirected inward. Jung believed that the path to emotional liberation does not lie in changing the other, but in reclaiming what has been projected. The love felt for someone who cannot return it is a reflection of the unlived potential within the self. When awareness shifts from seeking completion externally to nurturing wholeness internally, the psyche begins to individuate, integrating what was once scattered or denied. From a Jungian perspective, the unavailable other serves as a mirror. The intensity of longing, the pain of absence, and the allure of what is unattainable all point to inner gaps that have yet to be acknowledged. The anima or animus, the split between desire and self-worth, and the ego's confusion between intensity and intimacy. These are not problems to be fixed by someone else. They are invitations to turn inward, to see the reflection without judgment, to recognize the projections, and to cultivate the qualities that were unconsciously sought externally. In daily life, this shift manifests subtly. Emotional energy that once poured outward becomes available for self-reflection, creative expression, or personal growth. Boundaries naturally stabilize, patterns of overinvestment soften. The psyche no longer requires external confirmation to feel alive. Stillness becomes a space for insight rather than anxiety. Depth no longer depends on another's availability because it has been cultivated internally. Some connections are not meant to be completed by another person, but understood within yourself. What you long for in others often points to a deeper truth waiting to be integrated inside. Awareness does not erase desire, but it transforms it into self-knowledge and quiet strength. If this reflection resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments and explore them with intention. Subscribe for more Jungian psychology and emotionally grounded explorations of the inner life.